Hello, welcome back to Search with Sean. This is another Chat with Sean episode, of course. And yeah, today's guest needs no introduction, really. It's someone who we've mentioned many times on the channel. So I've actually got him on, and it's awesome to have you on, Darren. And yeah, tell us more about yourself and what you do. That'd be awesome.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, Sean. It is a pleasure to be here. I've seen some of your stuff before. It's really good. You're building up a really great channel, bringing on huge guests, people that I follow, people I'm excited about. But yeah, how about me? My name is Darren Shaw. I'm the founder of Whitespark. I've been doing SEO for 20 some years. I've been doing it for a very long time. My company, Whitespark, we help businesses, enterprises, and agencies with local SEO. We have software and services on that. We just launched an incredible local ranking grid software, best in the market, in my opinion. Beautiful reporting, fantastic competitive analysis. It's the best, and it's competitively priced. And anyways, check out our local ranking grid software if you are interested in that software, and you should switch from whatever you're using and use ours. So, anyways, that's about me. Yeah, that's all I got to say.
That's awesome. And we'll put obviously a link to that in the description so people can
Right.
check it out. I mean, as we're on the topic, what kind of makes it, you've added some things there, but what really makes it like pop? What's the like USP of it?
Of the software? Well, it's similar to other applications that do the same thing. So they track your local rankings on a grid, so you can see like the little points, like because local, um, it's not just like one set of rankings across the city. You're going to rank the closer you are to your actual physical location, you're going to rank better. So you'll see lots of like one, twos, and threes green around your location, and then as you get further away, you're going to rank lower, right? It really gets to show you how wide your grid is. And you can see that across different keywords, because like some keywords you might cover the whole city. So other keywords it's really tight. So it's really great to be able to understand how you're ranking in this visual way. So that's what the software does. There's other software out there that does it. No one does it as well as us, but I might be a little bit biased.
That's awesome. It's yeah, it sounds really cool.
Yeah.
And there's so much going on, obviously, with local at the moment, and search generally, especially with, like everything coming along so quickly, of agentic and all that sort of thing. And so, in that case, what is something in local SEO that you feel people may have missed that they're not perhaps paying enough attention to in like recent times?
Yeah. Well, if you are a regular listener to this show, I did flip through your episode with Greg Gifford recently, and he said the same thing I'm going to say, which is review recency. This is something people have missed. They think that the number of reviews you have is really the key factor. But what we're seeing has been a shift in local search recently is that review recency is important. So like if you might have 1,000 reviews, but if you haven't got one in 3 months, someone with 200 reviews that's getting like 2 or 3 per week, generally they're going to outrank you. It's obviously ranking signals, they're all weighted. There's hundreds of them. So it's just one of the things that is kind of new. And speaking of, I did not mention this in my introduction, but I run what's called the Local Search Ranking Factors Survey. So the Local Search Ranking Factors Survey is a survey of the very top experts in local search, people that are doing research, working with clients, uh, speaking on stages, publishing on Search Engine Land, publishing on the social channels, just real like people that are like the top of their game in local search. And so I survey about 50 of those people, and they have to do this grueling 2-hour survey where they score every possible factor, answer all these questions. And it really has become kind of like the Bible of what makes local search tick. How do you rank in the local pack? How do you rank in Google Maps? And so that is the de facto resource. I run that every year. It was originally developed by David Mim in 2008. He handed it to me in 2017. And so a lot of the things I'm going to talk about really come from that survey, that research that tells us what's new in local search. And every time we do it, there's always some changes. And of course, this year, I've added a whole section on AI search. How do local businesses rank in AI search? And so some of the stuff that when you ask me questions, it's a lot of that's going to come from the local search ranking factors.
Yeah, they're great as well. I don't know if you probably have shared it on here before, maybe last year, the one you did. That they are really great if you want to know more about local SEO and what makes it sort of tick over and stuff. And in terms of the review thing, obviously I did talk about this with Greg, but have you got any tips on kind of like getting people to leave? Because everyone's going to leave
Sure. Yeah.
bad, leaving good reviews, getting that is quite difficult in this day and age.
I right out of the gates, the first thing is to ask for reviews. A lot of businesses, they don't ask. They're just like, "Oh, I hope I get reviews." That's not going to work very well for you. So what you have to do is make sure you're asking every customer at every transaction. That way you're getting both the frequency and the recency. And what usually happens is if you don't ask for reviews, you're going to skew towards the negative, because a lot of people are like, "Oh, I had a great experience with that business," but they're like, "I got to write a review." So when they have a negative experience, that's when they're like, "I'm going to write a review." So what you have to do is you have to prompt the happy people. So always ask for a review, and don't do this thing where you have a mailing list or an email customer list. And then once a year, once a quarter, you blast the whole list and say, "Hey, can we get a review?" Because then you're going to get 70 new reviews on one day and then nothing for another 3 months. And that goes against what we're trying to do, which is recency and frequency. So always ask on a regular basis. And I'll give you my very favorite review strategy. No software required. Whitespark has software for reviews, but I'm going to say don't use it. Do this instead. This strategy is the greatest strategy. It is, you get these cards printed. Here, I'll show you an example. I got this one from local restaurant. We do this for all of our clients. We have SEO service agency side, and we generate these cards for our clients and send them out to them. So, it looks like this one side, here's the business, but on the back, it'll be like, "Please leave us a review on Google." And it has like a QR code, right? And so here's the strategy. You get all these things printed. Everyone that works at your company, they have these cards, and they'd be like, "Oh, hey," if they can, especially if you can tell that they had a good experience, you'd be like, "Would you mind leaving us a review?" The person will be like, "Oh yeah, sure. I'll leave you a review." And be like, "Great. I'm going to make it so easy for you. I got this little card. You'll notice it has a QR code. All you have to do is just point your phone camera at that QR code. It'll take you straight to our Google listing to leave a review." And they'll be like, "Oh, okay, cool." Well, they go home with this physical object and it's sitting on their desk and it's just bugging them. It's just like, "Oh yeah, right. I'm supposed to leave that review." And so it gives them this physical reminder to leave that review. Man, it's like 10 times the number of reviews. You send a person an email, forget it. You send a person a text message, better. You give a person this card, way better. So anyways, that's my strategy. And I think that if you do that, and another thing that you can do to really increase your reviews is incentivize your employees. So, have review competitions amongst the team. Who can get the most reviews this month? And then in that case, you'd be like, "Okay, here's the card. And if you mention my name, I get a bonus. So I really appreciate it." And so if you incentivize your team, which is totally within Google's guidelines, that's another top tip.
Yeah, the great tips. Definitely. Yeah. I definitely agree with like the card thing and that kind of nagging thing looking at you rather than, like you say, you could delete an email very quickly and you could ignore text. But yeah, for sure. And especially catch it when it's hot, someone's just had a good experience, then get there, not 2 months down the line where they've bought another 20 things or whatever, it's, yeah, for sure. And what do you think? I think I've got this on the list, but I'll get to it now because it's relevant. What do you
Okay.
think about the anonymous reviews situation? Do you think that's a good or a bad thing?
I put it in the good category. I don't really think it's a bad thing. A lot of people are concerned that it will encourage more fake negative reviews, right? And so that is a reasonable concern. But the thing you need to know is that I know that we're using the word anonymous, but they're not anonymous reviews. They are reviews tied to a real Google account that are just a different person's name. So instead of it being Darren Shaw in the Google account name, it's Fluffy Bunny. So it's like Fluffy Bunny left you a review. And so it just allows you to not have your name. So I actually think it's a good thing. And in fact, I might even tell people that. I'll be like, and if you're not comfortable putting your name on the internet when you leave that Google review, did you know that you can actually now put like a display name? So, you don't have to say your real name if you don't want to do it, like, especially in sensitive industries like, I don't know, drug and alcohol rehab. Do you want to go and leave a review for them? It'd be like, yeah, you're going to put that on the internet, or criminal defense attorneys or therapy, like any of these industries are a little sensitive. The ability to add a display name instead of putting reviews under your real name, I think it's a positive for the industry. I think it's good for Google. It means they will get more reviews because people will be more comfortable. And I don't actually think it'll encourage more fake negative reviews. That's my take, anyways.
Yeah, actually, that was really good context behind it. I never really thought about it like that. But if you, like, when you have shared documents, someone's like anonymous rhino and like, stuff like that. It is a person, but they're just named something else. And do you think, like, with agentic now coming into things a lot more, I talked about this with Greg, but you got the callback situation. There's going to be plenty more agentic sort of stuff coming into it, I'm
Yeah.
sure. Do you think that could work in the local setting? Yeah, do you think it could work, and how far do you think they're going to take it?
Yes, I think it's going to work very well, particularly for Google. But I think that we just saw this roll out. I noticed Brody Clark had published about it. And he had published that Google has rolled out in Merchant Center for retailers. Like the example was Lowe's hardware stores. And so they've got this like little, ask questions, little AI agent that the business gets to customize. So I just published a LinkedIn post this morning talking about this. And so the way it works for Lowe's is you can go into the thing, you can customize your agent, have some default answers, change the tone, make it match your brand, all this kind of stuff. Right now in Google, you kind of see it in testing, but it has this thing on Google Maps results where you can go ask Maps. So it's like ask Maps about a question about this business. This is a new feature that replaces the Q&A. So it's like, what is there parking nearby? What are this business's hours? Do they offer this product? Do they have matcha smoothies? Right? Like you can ask all these questions on Google business profiles in Google Maps. Right now, it's just one question. But this whole thing that they just rolled out for Merchant Center, it's obviously, for me, it's a very strong prediction that functionality is coming to Google Maps as well for local businesses. And so that whole thing where you customize your agent, I bet you that'll be a feature in Google business profiles. And so what does this mean practically from what should I do? How do I get ready for this agentic type thing? People are going to go to my listing on Maps and they're going to start conversing with an agent about my business. And so you need to feed everything you can imagine to the bots. Your Google business profile should be 100% complete and you should be updating it regularly with more information. There's lots of areas that you can add content to: the description field, the services field, the products field, Google Posts, connecting your social profiles. We just came out that Google is now pulling data from social profiles right into your Google Maps results. So it's like, today they have a special. It's like, that person just posted on Instagram, but it's showing up on your Google business profile. So all of these things, just like give Google the data. And then of course goes to your website as well. So your website becomes your database of information that the AI agents will use to understand your business. What products do you carry? Or do you have that on your website? Do you talk about all the different manufacturers you work with? Do you talk about the extreme nuances of the services you provide? A lot of local businesses have a services section where they'll have a page for, their top 5 services. But at our agency, we're really drilling down into what we call sub-services, like little nuanced details, really like building out the whole topic universe. So we'll use query fan out tools. We'll use also ask. We just want to know, like, what are all the possible things anyone could want to know? What types of insurance do you carry? What types of insurance do you accept in terms of like paying for whatever? Do you have workers' compensation? Like every tiny little question that could ever be asked has to be built into, you've got the main service page, the sub-service pages, just like build out that whole pyramid of data. Now your AI agent on your Google business profile can answer any question about your business.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. And
Yeah.
like I say, it could be a really great opportunity to teach it like everything about your business. And
Yeah.
like, even when I look at things like how many car park spaces do you have and stuff, many people don't put that sort of information on their listings, but
No.
it's quite important for me when I look at things.
And especially in the local business world, because here's what most local businesses have done. In 2008, they built a website. They haven't touched it since. In 2015, they're like, oh, what's this Google Maps thing? And then they made a Google business profile and they haven't touched it since. And they are busy fixing roofs and putting on new roofs. And they're like, oh yeah, I haven't added any content to this. So it's like, well, wake up. There's a whole new world and you need to be updating stuff. And content freshness becomes a big deal too, right? So it's a huge deal in, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude responses. So making sure your content is fresh. It's been an issue. It's been a concern for traditional search as well, but just regular updates, adding more content, refreshing content, rewriting content, doing that on both your Google business profile and your website. It's just this new world. You've got to keep it active.
Yeah. Obviously, consistency is very key as well. And I guess, ChatGPT have done some recent stuff around their local knowledge sort of listings that they've put out. So what are you thinking about them? If you've got much thoughts on how they're performing locally?
Yeah, I got some thoughts on ChatGPT. I think they are cooked. Done. So Google just secured the Siri deal. So Google's Gemini will power Siri in the future. Man. So first of all, Google already has the Android market. Now they have the iOS market. And so that's every device in the world, basically. And so they're going to power conversational, assistants on your mobile devices. But I think the thing that was bigger for me is that right now, ChatGPT is hemorrhaging cash. They have investors that are throwing billions and trillions of dollars at OpenAI, trying to keep this thing going so that they can build up a real competitor for knowledge retrieval, right? At the same time, Google is having record $100 billion quarters. Google is raking in the cash. They have all the resources. They have a deep history to be able to build all of this stuff. Gemini has already outpaced ChatGPT in terms of quality of results, in my opinion. They also have 2 decades of experience in spam fighting. People that are manipulating results, Google knows how to deal with that. They've been dealing with that for decades. ChatGPT is so easy to manipulate now. The results are trash. And then on the local side, where do they get their data? Freaking Facebook and Yelp and Bing? Come on, that is trash. Business owners barely keep their Google business profile up to date. There's all that stuff. It's just like the data is bad. They don't have the data. Google's got the data. So anyways, ChatGPT, yep, they got a local thing. You could use it if you want, but you're not going to get very good results. Google will absolutely win the AI race, and local is a big part of why I think they're going to win, because Google business profiles are the richest, most managed, most up-to-date, accurate data source of local business information in the world. So good luck, ChatGPT. See you later. Yeah.
And I know you make good points, especially that deal that they signed. That could be a game changer.
Yeah. Google's got great data and they got a great system. And man, there was a red alert at Google when ChatGPT came out, and they responded like, Gemini is great. They're adding all this AI agentic stuff across their entire ecosystem. It's like, and not only that, it's like, I get Gemini for free because I have Google Workspace. Like, I have it for my company. And so it's like, why am I going to use ChatGPT? I'm not going to use Gemini.
Yeah, no, valid points. And in terms of obviously we talked about review, recency, what else would you be focused on right now to boost your local listings? And obviously, like you say, you look at those import. What other things are at the top of the list that people may not be focusing on?
Yeah. So this edition of the local search ranking factors it's been 2 years since I did it. So we have lots of time to build up lots of new, interesting things. So there are a few things that are absolutely critical. that did not make it into the previous edition of the local search ranking factors. One of them is business hours. So a lot of people don't know and don't realize that Google preferences ranking in the local pack and Google Maps results, businesses that are open. So if your business is closing, I actually was just testing this yesterday. Let's say a business closes at 6 p.m. You run a query at, let's say, 4:55, and you will see they're ranking pretty good. Positions 1, 2, I'll get to these grids, and you can see the whole grid, and you can see the ranking pretty decently around the area. Within 1 hour of them closing, their rankings shrink. So they lose visibility. So they stop ranking as well because Google says, you can actually see it in the search results. It says closes soon. So within that 1 hour window, they lose a little bit. And then when they're actually closed, they lose even more. So they kind of, what is that? Compress their rankings, start to fade out. So what does that mean for your business? Well, once you know that, you're like, oh, well, I don't want Google to rank me worse because I'm not open. My competitors are open. There's a couple things you can do. You can do the 24/7 call answering service. This really only works for a service area business. So like roofing companies, plumbing companies, law firms are kind of a hybrid, but most people will call a law firm, not just show up at their office. And so for any of those types of businesses, you could get a 24/7 answering service, and now you're open all the time, and that becomes a non-issue for you. You're just always open. The other thing you can do if you are a brick and mortar business, let's say you are a retail store, clothing store, something like that, then if you want to maintain your rankings for a longer period, you could potentially consider extending your hours. You open an hour earlier, 2 hours earlier, stay open a little bit later. That just allows you to stay in the search results a little bit more. The expense may not be worth it to staff up for longer just to get some more visibility in the search results. It really depends on your category, but it's useful to be aware that business hours have an impact. I got more, but I'll let you. Do you have any thoughts about that business hour stuff?
No, I was going to say the exact same thing as you. If you say if your competitor next door or close to you is that you open up another half an hour, you never know. Like you say, it has to relate to sales, but if you can gain like an extra couple of sales every day,
Exactly.
potentially, then it
Yeah.
can make a difference, and that brand exposure and stuff. We know it's not everything can be related to sales because there are other things like exposure. And some people don't even put their business hours. I'm sure you've seen that many times. And what happens if they don't put their business hours?
I don't know. I think that's it. I feel like this came up once. And what was the outcome? I feel like if you don't put your business hours, Google continues to rank you. They just put you like 24/7. So maybe that's a strategy too. Don't list your hours. But I have heard that listing your hours is beneficial. Like I need to do some of my own personal testing on this, but not having hours listed is supposed to be a negative factor. It hurts your ability to rank. You should have your hours listed for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we know it's like the more it's completed, the more helpful it is to users.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
100%. Have all the day and make sure your hours that you've put on your Google. So if you do this thing where you extend your hours, you definitely need to update the hours on your website or Google will reject them and actually could get your profile unverified or suspended. So before you update Google, update your website, but then also look at some of the big citation sources like your Facebook page, your LinkedIn page, your Better Business Bureau listing, your Yelp listing, your Yellow Pages listing. Those ones, Google does look at them to validate information you changed in your profile. So you change all those places first before you update Google. So that's key too.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So what else was it
Yeah.
really?
Things from this year's local search ranking factors are the services section in your Google business profile. So it was actually funny because I launched the local search ranking factor, the 2023 version. And then it was like 2 weeks after I published it, Joy Hawkins came out with really great research showing that, look, services impact rankings. I was like, what? And so it was amazing because previously we had services as a local search myth. It was like these things that people think impact rankings, but don't. And so we had that at the very bottom of the list. We say, yep, no, services, it's a myth. I'll tell you right now, there's a few things that are myth. Maybe ask me that question later. What are the local search myths? So services is one of those things that we thought, no, has no impact on ranking. But then Joy had proven that it did. And then I did my own testing and I was like, she's right. Look at this. It really does impact ranking. So if you have been ignoring your services section of your Google business profile, today's the day. You're going to go in there. You're going to look at it. You're going to add all your services. You're going to fill out a nice title. You're going to add a description. And so make sure you build out your services section of your Google business profile. It kind of goes back to what I said earlier about the AI agent and making sure giving Google all your data. That's one of the places. It's really critical. So that's a big one that's kind of new for this year in the local search ranking factors. The other thing that is new this year is related to service area businesses. So it has been shown time and time again that if you are a business with an address on your profile, so your address is there, but you don't actually have customers come to your house. Let's say you are a plumbing company. You go to the residential customers to fix their plumbing at their house. You don't really actually have an office that people come to be like, hello, I'm here to get plumbing services. That doesn't happen, right? So you are a service area business and Google will sometimes flag these and they'll suspend your profile. In order to get it unsuspended, you have to come into compliance. To become into compliance, you should not show your address on your profile. So all these businesses are now like having to hide their address on the profile. And what do they see happen? Rankings fall off a cliff. So they used to rank really well with the address showing. Now they don't. And so there's a few different theories floating around about what's happening with this. I'm on the fence about it still. You can see it happen. You remove the address, you don't rank anymore. You used to rank really well. Now you don't. You can see it in the grid ranking tools, like what I mentioned earlier, our Whitespark local ranking grids. You can see the before and after of how you don't rank as well as you used to. But sometimes what happens is the rankings move. So if you originally registered your address in, like, let's say Aurora, Colorado, that's where you started your business. And then, like, say 5 years into your business, you moved to Denver proper. And so now you're in Denver, you have an address on your profile. And then later Google says, oh, you have to remove that address, your Denver address. You take the Denver address off. What happens is all your rankings just go back to Aurora because now that's the only address that Google has to anchor your business. So you're now ranking in Aurora. You're like, well, I don't live there anymore. Why am I ranking down there, Google? And be like, well, it's the only address we have. It's kind of like a bug. And so that's one thing that definitely happens. But I've also seen cases where their rankings disappeared. I no longer rank in Denver. Where am I ranking? So be like, well, did you ever move? They're like, no, I've always been in Denver. And then what you can do is using my local ranking grid software, you can make a huge grid that like covers the whole state. And then like, whoa, like 100 miles away on the top left, you got a little bit of green up there. You're ranking number 1 in some farmer's field. And then you'd be like, what happened? Like, why are you now ranking way up there? And so this to me is a bug in Google's system. And so a lot of times when you remove the address, Google's like, we don't know what to do. Where are you? Where is this business? And so sometimes they just throw the pin in some weird spot. So there's this thing called the map pin. And so you just end up there. But if you don't have an address, you don't have the ability to change that map pin. And so you end up in this limbo state where you are now ranking in the farmer's field 200 miles north of Denver instead of ranking in Denver. So, but other times it happens too, where you hide your address, you remove it from the profile and your rankings stay exactly the same. So there's some weirdness, there's some bug thing. That's another thing that's kind of new for this year in 2026.
What about if you got like a PO box sort of thing? Would that help? Or
that's against the guidelines. So if you go and try to create a Google business profile with a PO box, first of all, you probably can't get it through. Now with verification, they've really stepped up their verification. So you probably could not register that business today. In the past, you could get away with a PO box with the postcard they would send you. But you can't do it today. And so that's not an option. But then, okay, I'll get not a PO box. How about a virtual office? That way I can get a physical address, right? That's also against the guidelines. So you might that idea out of your mind. And then you're like, oh, okay, I know what I'll do. I will get a co-working space. It's not really a virtual office. It's like this, a WeWork or something, right? Google doesn't like that either. And so basically, if you're going to have an address, you must serve your clients at that address. If you had a co-working dedicated office with a lease agreement and you had signage, and if someone walked into that WeWork, there was a sign that said, Bob's Plumbing, and they could go to the back and there's a person working there, like, welcome to Bob's Plumbing. Then you could have that on Google and you could get it verified. So co-working is also a little sketchy. And so Google is like, oh, this is a co-working space. So you're going to have a pain in the butt trying to get it verified. Your very best move, if you want to get around this problem, is to what's called a sublease. And so if you go commercial office space, Denver, you're going to find lots of office space available for $7,000 a month. Most small businesses are like, I'm not going to take that expense. That makes no sense. And so what you got to do is you've got to get a closet. And the commercial real estate places are not offering closets. So you get what's called a sublease. Someone already has a full office and they're renting one room. And where you find these, you find them on Craigslist, you find them on Facebook Marketplace. That's where you find people doing the sublease. And then for like, you try to find something for like $400 a month. So I'm just going to rent a room in your office. It's called a sublease. Now you're in business. You get signage out front. You get a sign on your door within the office. You get a sign on the door outside of their big office, like Bob's Plumbing. And then you go in, there's your door, Bob's Plumbing. Now you can verify that business. That's my advice for Bob's Plumbing. Bob, if you're listening, that's how you can do it.
There you go. You help someone. Let's talk about myths then, as you brought it up. What's the biggest myths around?
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, the local search ranking factors is great because we have 188 factors, and all of the people that contributed to all the local search experts, they score every factor across multiple things. How strongly does this impact local pack map rankings? How strongly does this impact local organic rankings? So like the blue links that are localized. How strongly does this impact conversions? How strongly does this thing impact AI search? So for example, one of the factors might be having your address showing on your profile. That's a factor, right? So they have to score it. And so when they score things, so I'll give you an example of one. Going back to Bob's Plumbing, he's a service area business, right? He's like, okay, well, I can't show my address, so I'm going to set what's called a service area. In Google, there is a field where you can say, I service this neighborhood, and it kind of draws this little area that you're willing to drive to help your customers, right? So we're going to cover this whole city of Denver plus the suburbs. So you can set this service area, right? People think that, oh, okay, well, I told Google that I service that north side of the city in my service area, so I should rank there. But that is a local search myth. Google doesn't use the service areas to impact your ranking. And so all the local search experts, when they score service areas, they score it a 0. So it ends up at the very bottom of the list. And so if you just take the list from like the most powerful things to the least powerful and flip it, everything that's the least powerful become what we call local search myths. And so service areas is one of them. Sadly, Google doesn't care what you put in there. They won't make you rank in that area by saying I service that area. The only thing the service areas does is it draws a little red outline that shows customers that you're willing to service that area. That's all it does. And also there's a little tag on your thing that says like servicing these areas. Another big one, which is one of my favorites to talk about, is geotagging photos. So people think that if you edit your photos before you upload them to a Google Business Profile, and then it's like, there's a secret area of your photos, you can edit the metadata and EXIF data, and you can add geocoordinates. Say, haha, I put the geocoordinates of my business into this photo, and then I uploaded it to Google. And if you go to TikTok, you'll hear lots of people, local SEOs, telling you to do this stupid trick, but it doesn't work. It's been tested multiple times, has 0 impact. In fact, when you upload photos to your Google Business Profile, Google strips all that metadata out, and then they're just on your profile without the metadata. So, but you'll see lots of hacks on YouTube and TikTok, and people saying that they found the secret way to rank in Google, and they'll talk about this, but it's a myth. So that's another good one. I love it. Let me bring up the profile. Local search ranking factors. So yeah, if you just Google Whitespark local search ranking factors, you can find it. There's a section on the left-hand side called local search myths. Geotagging photos is our number one. Number two, follower count on social profiles. Does that impact ranking? Well, according to the experts, no. Ooh, I love this one. I want to talk about this myth. Length of title tag. So if you use Yoast or SEMrush or Ahrefs, or like we do any of these like site audits, they'll tell you your title tag is too long. You got to keep it under 65 characters, right? That's a myth. It's an SEO myth, not even a local SEO myth. It's an SEO myth that your title tag has to be a certain length. You can make that title tag 275 characters. Google doesn't care. And so what I love to do, and I always recommend, is like you specify. So you want your title tag to be compelling. So this is keyword stuff that looks bad in the search results, right? Even though Google rewrites your title tags anyways, but you want the first little bit to be like, Bob's Plumbing is Denver's top plumbing company with the greatest customer service. Like that's the part that's visible in the search results. But then at the end of that, then you go servicing Aurora and this suburb and that suburb and doing drain cleaning. You should like stuff the back end of your title tag with all these keywords and locations that you want to rank for. And that extra stuff that doesn't even get shown in the results because it truncates it, that extra stuff does help you rank. So I love that title tag length has come in as a local search myth because I truly believe it. I've tested it. You put all that extra stuff at the back of your title tag and it's going to help you rank for all that stuff that you put in that title tag. There's no stronger sort of on-page signal than title tags. So take advantage of it and don't listen to Yoast that says your title tag you get a red dot in Yoast because your title tag is too long, but you don't have to worry about that. That's another really good myth.
Yeah, we're going to have Joy on soon, and I saw her talking about the same thing. And
oh yeah,
yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, just like you say in SEO, we always got taught that we fundamentals of SEO, that the length for title tags. But like you say, that's really just what's getting displayed on Google, but that doesn't mean you can't populate it further. And as you say, they're rewriting most of it anyway. So even if you give Google the indication that you do these other things, it still might help, overall.
Another good myth that people need to know about, a lot of people will provide this tip. Keywords in reviews, right? So you're getting all these reviews coming in and it's useful. Let's say you are Bob's Plumbing and you want to rank better for drain cleaning. So you're like, hey, when you leave us that review, could you mention drain cleaning in your review? Because then that'll help you rank better for drain cleaning. Because Google says like, we hired Bob's Plumbing to come and clean our drains for drain cleaning services, right? Like that's a positive signal. And that is an actual ranking factor. So keywords in reviews. So, but a lot of people will give you this tip. Well, what you could do as the business owner is that when you reply to the person who left a review and you leave a response, you say, thanks for your great review about our drain cleaning services. Like in the response, you like stuff it with keywords. Thanks for using Denver's best plumbers for drain cleaning, when you reply. And so a lot of people will say, oh, when you write your reply, stuff it, but don't do that because that is a myth. Google does not look at the owner responses for any signals. They just ignore it. It's just not part of the algorithm. And I'll give you one more, which is really critical. People think that you can stuff keywords in your Google business profile description. They think like, oh, well, it's one of the only areas of text I can optimize on the page on the Google business profile. So I'm going to make sure all my keywords are in my description. Google doesn't use the description as part of the local ranking algorithm. So a lot of people think that it does. And so they're like, oh, I'll put all my keywords in there, but no. So that's another myth. The description is not used in the algorithm. There's no value in optimizing the description. What you should do with the description is write it for conversions. You're writing it like ad copy. You're going to compel people. Anyone read it, they'll be like, wow, this sounds like a great business. I don't want to hire them, but you don't need to stuff keywords in it.
But you do say that, encouraging customers to say certain words could actually help.
From that perspective, yes. So like if you say, Bob's Plumbing has been in operation for 20 years. Bob is a veteran superstar influencer plumber, and we really specialize in drain cleaning. We really pride ourselves on our drain cleaning service. You're not writing the word drain cleaning to stuff it to get ranked better for drain cleaning. You're writing it to convince that person that you're good at drain cleaning.
Yeah. Well, I know who I'm going to call next time anyway.
Bob, yeah. Next time you please, Bob. Yeah.
This is an interesting one. I was going through your LinkedIn and stuff, but like, how much effort should you put into social media for local presence? For example, TikTok. I
Yeah.
know you covered it a little bit, what we
Yeah.
just discussed, but yeah, how much
If
should
you
you
had
put
asked
into it?
me this question 2 years ago, I would say waste of time. Freaking all these businesses out there writing a tweet every day, making Instagram posts, all that stuff is trash, waste of time. Google's not looking at it. I have changed my tune. I really think Google is looking at it now. Google is using this as an additional source specifically for like the kind of like what's new, what's happening at this business. Google is now absolutely looking at your Google business profile. A few things have happened. They added the ability to add social profiles to your Google business profile. So you can link all your like your Instagram, your TikTok, your Facebook, your Twitter, your I think LinkedIn's in there. Yeah. So you can link your business social profiles to your Google business profile. When you do that, it's like you've just hooked in another data source of what's going on in your business. So you're running a special today. And this just came out a couple of days ago. I think it was Monday. Valentina Vasileva has posted about a thing she saw in the search results where it says like today, smoky barbecue crunch sandwiches on special. That's showing up right in the search results. And it's like, oh, where did that come from? It's coming from the Instagram. So these businesses, and there was another one too, it was like some kind of special for a nightclub or the dance floor or something. And that was getting pulled into the search results. Google is 100% looking at your social feeds. They are ingesting that data and they are understanding that data. So let's say, I talked earlier about making sure Google has all the information about your business. People don't really put it on their websites. They don't really put it on their Google business profile, but on their Instagrams, they're like every day, they'll be like, yeah, we definitely accept this type of insurance. And so Google is like, yes, this is a new data source we want to get. And they're looking at it and it's valuable. So I would say social is becoming a lot more important. And I would say not only text, but video. Video is huge. So I think small businesses really need to start embracing short form video. And then they should be publishing those videos in the obvious places: Instagram, YouTube, Shorts, TikTok, if you're okay with TikTok. But here's the one everyone forgets. They forget to upload those videos directly to their Google business profile. And so you can put them on your Google business profile too, in two places. You're going to upload them to the photo section, and you can also create a Google post with the video content. So that's the strategy. I would say very valuable for businesses to be making short form video. You can empower your Gen Z staff to make those videos for you. And that's the same thing. It's just like feeding the robots, feed them all the data, tell them about your business, tell them about specials, tell them about things that make you special. That I think is a slept on strategy. And I think it becomes a really strong strategy going into 2026.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. And it's like, when I look at local restaurants or whatever, and it's a bit like what you said earlier, they have some pictures of like the menu and some food pictures from like 2014, and then they forgot to do any more. And then the only pictures they have are like user pictures, but they're pretty rubbish, little
Right.
videos and stuff. And you're like,
Accurate.
I kind of want to see more, but from the actual place, and yeah, it's such a quick win. So
Yep.
yeah. And in terms of like, sorry, it's not on this, but I'm interested personally. Posts on Google My Business, how
Yeah.
much? Because they're very discreet on actually the reach and what they do in terms of
Yeah.
like performance, but how much impact do they make? Is it one
Zero
point?
impacts on ranking. So I think they're going to come in as one of the local search myths. Let's see here. Where are they following this list? Like you can actually search this post. Frequency of posts on social, quality of posts, quantity of Google post updates comes in as number 20 on the sort of myths list. So it is true. Google posts have been tested. They don't directly impact rankings. So if you make a post about drain cleaning, Bob, it's not going to help you rank better for drain cleaning because you made a Google post about it, or like you made 10 Google posts about it. Google's not looking at the content of the posts for ranking signals. At least that's what the testing so far up to this point has shown. Google is leaning into social and these kinds of things. So it's possible that might change over time. But does that mean if it doesn't impact rankings that you shouldn't do posts? Well, no. Posts are the greatest social channel that every local business has. And I'll tell you why. Who is following Bob's Plumbing on Twitter or Instagram? Like nobody. Nobody gives a crap about Bob's Plumbing social post. But who is looking at their Google business profile? Hundreds, thousands of people every single month. They are looking for plumbers. Looking through the Google business profiles. And there you go. You finally get some eyeballs on your social posts. So here's what you got to do with Google posts. You should not make Google posts like a social post. Like, it's Debbie's birthday, so we're celebrating her in the office. That is the stupidest Google post. Well, you might put that on your Instagram, fine, but because that's people that are already following your business. They already know Debbie who works in reception. Great. We love Debbie. Happy birthday. But not on your Google business profile. Your Google business profile are people that do not know you yet. They're not your followers, not your customers. So you should be selling hard to them in the Google post section. We are the greatest drain cleaning company in Denver. Here's what makes us better. We run awards. You're going to pump out the awards. You're going to say, look at this customer testimonial. Take one of your best reviews and make that a Google post. You are going to make your Google posts directly sell your specials or talk about why you're the best, or really just it's compelling conversion rate content. So you don't do Google posts for rankings. You do them for conversions. That is the way to do it. And you have a great audience. It's true that they're kind of buried on the profile, so not a lot of people are going to see them, but you set them up and you tag them with UTM tags, like the link to your drain cleaning page. You will see it show up in analytics. You will see people coming from the Google post to your drain cleaning page. And you will also, if you track conversions, you will see, wow, look, we talked that we're running a 20% off special on drain cleaning services this month. Someone clicked it on the Google post, they converted right there. And so that's why we do them. We do them for all of our clients because they drive direct sales. It's perfect. So don't sleep on Google posts. Do them. They don't affect rankings. It's a local search myth, but they do drive sales. Isn't that better than rankings anyways? It is.
Yeah. And like you say, not everything has to be about rankings, like you say, it does have other effects, as you mentioned. Yeah, I guess just finish off the last couple of things, if that's okay, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yep.
In terms of like, you built up a really good, and I've seen you on a podcast recently discussing this, and you're like one of the best in the market for local SEO, in my opinion. But in terms of like, how do you kind of build up your personal brand and kind of
Oh,
how
yeah.
do you make sure that people know who you are and what you do? I think people would be interested to hear that.
My first thought on that is that it is a bit of a luxury to have the time and space as a business owner to build a personal brand. And so I am lucky in that I have built a company over the last 20 years and I have an amazing leadership team that mostly runs the show. So I got a great software team lead, builds all our software, a great software team that does all that. They just show me what they're building. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Good job, guys. And then I got an awesome director of SEO that runs the whole agency side of the business, and then an awesome team that's doing all the work. I don't have to have my fingers in that. Full trust with them. They're doing a great job. And of course, I bring things that I'm researching and things that I'm finding to the team. But, I'm not directly involved in the day-to-day. Same thing with our listing service. We have a listing service run by Lab. We have a team of 24 people building out citations and listings for agencies and local businesses. And I don't have to do much for that. And so my job is mostly being influencer guy, Darren. I come on podcasts. I make LinkedIn posts every day. I work with my marketing team every morning to create this stuff. So I would say, first of all, it's hard to find the time and space to do it. But if you are very busy in your business, don't sleep on the opportunity. You should absolutely still be on whatever your most primary channel is. trying to post something once a day. And it could just be like, here's some things from my business that are new, some new thoughts that I had. And that's where all my stuff comes from. It's like I'm researching all the time. I'm reading other people's articles. I'm seeing what's new. I'm talking about what's happening in my business. And so that's what you need to do. And I think there's huge value in this. And I actually think there's huge value in this, particularly in 2026, as what we know as SEO is really shrinking because clicks from the search results really drastically shrinking. Google's really putting ads everywhere, AI overviews. People are going to ChatGPT. They don't need to go to your website. Lots of times they don't even go to your Google business profiles. So they're getting answers. You need to be finding more channels. You need to be on LinkedIn. You need to be on Instagram. You need to be on Facebook. Wherever your audience is or potential customers, it's valuable for you to start doing that. And the thing about it is like, it's a slow build, but once you get the traction, then there's an audience there. And so having a captive audience is super powerful. And so I would say it's really valuable, really important for anyone. I think your audience on this podcast is probably SEO agencies. And so, I guess follow my lead, look at my LinkedIn, look at my Instagram, look at my TikTok. I do think there's great value in just participating, building up your network, sharing good information, because what happens is then someone's like, oh yeah, I saw this guy he just keeps posting really good stuff on LinkedIn. And so we need that service. He's like the analytics expert. And I really like what he has to say about Google Analytics. So now that we need to implement that for our clients, let's hire this guy. It just really becomes valuable. And I think it's an important channel.
Yeah, no, it's great. And obviously we've had Jason Barnard on recently and discussing about
Yeah.
personal brand and the importance it's going to have, especially in the years ahead
Yep.
with AI and stuff. So yeah, no, you're doing a great job, obviously. And, it's such a pleasure to have you on because like I say, I've been featuring you so often on the show. It's like, yeah, it's awesome to actually talk to you. And yeah, I appreciate your time today, Darren, and your wisdom that you shared.
I appreciate your time too. It was a pleasure to come and chat with you. I love talking about this stuff. And yeah, thanks for giving me the opportunity.